Stephen A. Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark.
Could the Caitlin Clark era in Indiana be over before it even truly began? That's the shocking question echoing through the sports world as whispers of a full-blown crisis surrounding the WNBA's biggest star are growing into a deafening roar. This isn't just about a rookie's growing pains or a team's tough start. This is about a phenomenon on the verge of implosion, a generational talent being pushed to her absolute breaking point by a relentless campaign of what some are calling sabotage from all sides. And now, one of the biggest voices in sports media, Stephen A. Smith, has essentially confirmed what many have feared. The situation in Indiana is becoming dangerously unstable, and the idea of Caitlin Clark wanting to quit the franchise is no longer just a wild speculative rumor. It's a terrifyingly logical possibility. The drama is escalating to unprecedented levels. The pressure is mounting with every single game. And behind the scenes, a bitter battle is raging that could determine the future of not just Clark, but the entire league she was single-handedly supposed to elevate into the stratosphere. What started as a universally celebrated fairy tale, the arrival of a collegiate hero set to redefine professional women's basketball, has quickly and brutally morphed into a public nightmare. Sources from within and around the league are pointing to a perfect storm of internal conflict, league-wide professional jealousy, and a shocking, almost unbelievable level of institutional betrayal that absolutely nobody saw coming. The fuse has been lit for weeks, the sizzle growing louder with each controversy, and the explosion that could rock the WNBA to its very core now seems not just possible, but imminent. This story is no longer about basketball. It's about the anatomy of a breakdown, a system seemingly turning on its own savior, and one young woman struggling to survive it all. The firestorm truly ignited and gained national legitimacy when Stephen A. Smith, a man whose voice carries the weight of a cultural institution, went on his national television platform and laid the blame squarely and unapologetically at the feet of the WNBA and the Indiana Fever organization. He didn't just criticize a few bad plays or a poor coaching strategy. He painted a vivid, damning picture of a league and a team actively, almost deliberately failing its brightest and most valuable star. He spoke with raw passion about a level of disrespect and overt physical targeting that went far beyond the typical rookie hazing, calling the entire situation a damn shame and a black eye on the sport. His words carried immense, undeniable weight, not as a beat reporter breaking a trade rumor, but as a powerful cultural commentator diagnosing a deep-seated disease within the league's culture. He passionately argued that the powers that be, from rival players to league executives, were so consumed by petty jealousies and old-guard gatekeeping that they were willing to risk destroying their own golden goose, the one player who brought them charter flights, sold-out arenas, and multi-million-dollar media deals. Smith's fiery defense of Clark served as a crucial, powerful signal to the entire world that what we are all witnessing on the court night after night is not normal. It was a public service announcement, a declaration that the environment Clark has been violently thrown into is toxic, unprofessional, and potentially career-threatening. He effectively gave a credible mainstream voice to the millions of fans who sat watching at home, feeling that something was deeply, fundamentally wrong with how she was being treated. This wasn't just sports analysis. It was a clear and present warning. A warning that if things don't change and change drastically, the league could very well lose the one person who has brought them a level of unprecedented attention, viewership, and mainstream cultural relevance they had only dreamed of. His pointed, incisive comments instantly transformed the quit rumors from fringe fan speculation into a chillingly plausible scenario, because a voice like his doesn't sound an alarm that loud unless the fire is already raging out of control. But the intense external pressure from the rest of the league, a relentless gauntlet of hostility, is only half of this disastrous story. The real rot, according to a growing number of insiders and analysts, may be starting from within the Indiana Fever organization itself, specifically with the questionable leadership and coaching from the sidelines. While the video title provocatively mentions Stephanie White, the true source of internal friction and a baffling lack of support appears to be Indiana's own head coach, Christy Side. On the surface, the relationship between a coach and a franchise-altering star player should be a foundational partnership, a united front against the world. But fans and basketball purists have watched in sheer horror as the on-court product has looked disjointed, amateurish, and strategically chaotic. Questionable and inconsistent player rotations, a complete lack of creative offensive schemes to get Clark open shots, and defensive strategies that consistently leave her exposed and targeted have become the unfortunate trademarks of the Fever's struggling season. The post-game press conferences, however, have been even more revealing and damning. Instead of fiercely and passionately defending her franchise player from the brutal, often non-basketball physicality she's enduring, Coach Sides has frequently delivered lukewarm, generic, and corporate-sounding responses that lack any conviction. After particularly egregious and dangerous fouls against Clark, her shocking lack of public outrage has been deafening to a fan base desperate for a leader to fight for their star. This has fueled a powerful and damaging narrative that she is either completely in over her head, utterly unable to handle the immense pressure and media scrutiny that comes with coaching a global superstar, or worse, that she doesn't fully grasp the gravity of the physical and psychological toll being inflicted upon her most important player. This perceived lack of support from her own bench is a devastating psychological blow, adding a deeply personal layer of internal betrayal to the constant barrage of external attacks she is forced to face every single night. The situation is rapidly reaching a breaking point, and the entire sports world is watching to see if the Fever can find a way to salvage the relationship before it's too late. The clock is ticking. The pressure is mounting. And the future of the franchise, and perhaps the entire league, hangs in the balance. The answer is coming soon. And when it arrives, it will change everything. The game has changed. The players have changed. And the only certainty is that nothing will ever be the same again. The revolution is here. And it is just getting started. The fight for the soul of the Indiana Fever is on. And there is no turning back now. The golden era has arrived. Now it's time to see who will survive it. The battle lines are drawn. The war has begun. And the whole world is watching. Every single second. The stakes have never been higher. The drama has never been more intense. And the only certainty is uncertainty itself. The clock is ticking. The pressure is mounting. And the game is just getting started. The only thing left to do is play. And hope that when the final buzzer sounds, the right side wins. The golden era is here. Now it is time to see if it will last. The fight is on. And the world is watching. Every single second. This creates a toxic and isolating environment where a young player feels utterly unprotected and abandoned by the one person who should be her biggest and most vocal advocate. This perceived and very public lack of support from her own bench is a devastating psychological blow, adding a deeply personal layer of internal betrayal to the constant barrage of external attacks she is forced to face every single night she steps on the court. And those attacks have been nothing short of relentless and at times downright shocking in their audacity. This isn't just about playing tough defense or giving a rookie a welcome to the league moment. What Caitlin Clark is facing is a calculated and targeted campaign of physical intimidation designed to break her. The most infamous and widely publicized example, of course, was the blatant off-ball hip check from Chicago Sky's Chindi Carter. A play that had absolutely nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with sending a thuggish, premeditated message of disrespect. But that was just the most visible moment in a disturbing and continuous series of hard shoves, cheap shots, illegal screens, and overly aggressive, dangerous closeouts that have become a nightly predictable occurrence. Rival players across the league seemed to be operating with a clear, unspoken mandate. Be as physical as humanly possible with Clark, constantly test the limits of what the referees will allow, and see if you can break her spirit before you break her body. What makes this situation so much more insidious is the baffling reaction, or more accurately the lack thereof, from both the league office and crucially her own teammates. It took a massive sustained public outcry from fans and media across the country for the league to reluctantly upgrade Carter's flagrant foul. And even then, the prevailing sentiment from many veteran players was that Clark was soft and simply needed to toughen up. This has left her on a desolate island, forced to absorb a level of punishment that would have seasoned NBA veterans calling for backup and demanding retaliation. It's a lonely, frustrating, and physically dangerous position to be in. And it exposes a dark, troubling underbelly of the league where professional jealousy and resentment appear to be trumping basic sportsmanship and player safety, creating an environment where the league's biggest asset is also its biggest target. Just when it seemed the on-court situation couldn't possibly get any worse, Clark was hit with what many are describing as the ultimate, most profound betrayal of all. She was inexplicably left off the U.S. Olympic women's basketball team. This single decision sent a seismic shock wave through the entire sports world, with the fallout extending far beyond the traditional WNBA fan base. From a purely basketball-centric perspective, one could cobble together a weak argument for her exclusion based on a lack of experience with the senior national team. But from a marketing, business, and growth of the sport perspective, it was a catastrophic self-inflicted wound of epic proportions. Leaving the single most popular and culturally influential basketball player in the country, man or woman, off the Olympic team felt like a deeply personal and professional slap in the face. It was the basketball establishment, the entrenched old guard, sending a cold, clear, and unmistakable message to Clark and her millions of new fans. You are an outsider, and you are not one of us. For Clark, who had openly spoken about her dream of representing her country on the world's biggest stage, this had to be a crushing, devastating emotional blow. It powerfully reinforced the isolating idea that no matter how many tickets she sells, how many viewership records she shatters, or how much unprecedented attention she brings to their sport, there are powerful people in positions of authority who do not want her to succeed on her own terms. The Olympic snub wasn't just about a roster spot. It was a very public and humiliating declaration that the system itself was not on her side. This profound level of institutional rejection, combined with the nightly physical abuse and the growing struggles within her own team, created a potent and volatile cocktail of frustration and despair that would push any athlete to their breaking point. That deeply unsettling feeling of being a complete and total outsider may not stop at the league office or the Olympic Selection Committee. There are growing and persistent whispers that it extends right into the sanctuary of her own locker room. While there have been no public spats or locker room explosions reported, the on-court body language throughout the season has told a compelling and troubling story. In countless moments when Clark has been on the receiving end of a hard illegal foul, the cavalry has rarely if ever arrived. Her teammates are often noticeably slow to help her up from the floor or to get in the face of the aggressor. The team's other star player, Aaliyah Boston, has been particularly criticized by fans and analysts for not being more of a vocal and physical protector for her young point guard, a role that is standard for star pairings in professional sports. Whether this is a deliberate choice driven by jealousy or simply a glaring lack of team chemistry and leadership, the end result is exactly the same. Caitlin Clark often looks completely and utterly alone out there. This directly feeds into the ugly but persistent narrative of professional jealousy. Is it truly possible that some of her own teammates secretly resent the massive all-encompassing spotlight she commands? Do they feel that the offense revolves too much around her or that she receives preferential treatment? These are incredibly uncomfortable questions, but they are being asked by concerned observers for a legitimate reason. A professional basketball team is supposed to be a tight-knit unit, a family that fights for each other. But right now, the Indiana Fever look more like a fractured collection of individuals with their biggest star left to fend for herself against a league of predators. This kind of internal isolation and perceived lack of support can be infinitely more damaging and demoralizing than any cheap shot from an opponent. And while the title of this story mentions Stephanie White, her true role in this unfolding saga is that of a formidable rival who perfectly represents the league-wide strategic challenge Clark is facing down every single game. White is the highly respected coach of the Connecticut Sun, one of a handful of top-tier, disciplined, and intensely physical teams that have a clear and effective game plan for Clark, wear her down, frustrate her, and make her life a living hell for 40 minutes. Watching how White's team meticulously defended Clark offers a perfect case study in the league's collective approach. They used their superior physicality, their veteran experience, and their sophisticated defensive schemes to make every single possession a grueling, punishing battle. White's public comments have always been professional and respectful, but her team's actions on the court speak much louder volumes. She, like many other veteran coaches in the WNBA, has crafted and perfected a strategy designed to neutralize the Caitlin Clark effect. This isn't necessarily a personal vendetta. It's just smart, ruthless coaching, but it significantly contributes to the immense pressure cooker environment that Clark finds herself trapped in. Every single night, she faces a new coach and a new team whose entire defensive identity for that game is built around stopping her and only her. It's a relentless, punishing gauntlet with no end in sight. And it clearly shows that there will be no easy nights for her in this league. The Stephanie Whites of the WNBA are not the direct enemy in this drama, but they are a constant, powerful, and exhausting reminder of the monumental task Clark faces every time she steps on the floor. A war she must wage on her own. This all brings us inescapably to the boiling point, that critical moment where rampant feverish speculation starts to feel like an inevitable foregone conclusion. The pervasive quit rumors aren't born from a single isolated incident. They are the logical and predictable conclusion of a relentless multi-front psychological and physical assault on a 22-year-old athlete. Just take a moment to consider the sheer crushing weight of it all. You have the immense, almost suffocating pressure of being the designated face of an entire professional league. You have a coaching staff that appears either unable or unwilling to fully support and protect you from harm. You have opponents from every other team physically targeting you with malicious intent on a nightly basis. You have the ultimate professional dream of representing your country in the Olympics snatched away from you in a public and humiliating fashion. And in the cruelest twist of all, you may not even be able to count on the full-throated, unconditional support of the very players in your own locker room. Each one of these factors in isolation would be enough to challenge the mental fortitude of any professional athlete. But to have them all happening simultaneously in a cascading torrent of negativity creates a situation that feels completely and utterly unsustainable for anyone, let alone someone in their first professional season. This is no longer just about the game of basketball. It's a psychological war of attrition. And right now, Caitlin Clark is fighting it all by herself. The whispers are getting louder because the mounting evidence is becoming impossible to ignore. So, while no official trade request has been formally made and no public statement of discontent has been released, you have to seriously ask yourself, how much more can one person possibly be expected to take? The beautiful fairy tale of Caitlin Clark saving the WNBA has been violently replaced by the grim, unfolding reality of whether she can even save herself and her burgeoning career from this perfect storm of negativity and adversity. The signs of a breaking point are all there for the world to see. The on-court frustration, the visible isolation, the immense physical and emotional toll etched on her face. It is a genuine tragedy unfolding in plain sight in real time. We are witnessing a true generational talent, a cultural phenomenon being pushed mercilessly to the absolute brink by the very league she is enriching. The question is no longer if she will reach that breaking point, but when. And as the pressure continues to mount, with no relief in sight, the shocking idea of Caitlin Clark demanding a way out of Indiana might not just be her best available option, it might be her only one left. Negativity and adversity. The signs of a breaking point are all there for the world to see. The on-court frustration, the visible isolation, the immense physical and emotional toll etched on her face. It is a genuine tragedy unfolding in plain sight in real time. We are witnessing a true generational talent, a cultural phenomenon being pushed mercilessly to the absolute brink by the very league she is enriching. The question is no longer if she will reach that breaking point, but when. And as the pressure continues to mount, with no relief in sight, the shocking idea of Caitlin Clark demanding a way out of Indiana might not just be her best available option, it might be her only one left. The clock is ticking. The pressure is mounting. And the entire basketball world is watching to see if she will rise to the occasion or be consumed by the weight of it all. The choice is hers. And the consequences will be monumental. The game has changed. The question is whether Clark has the courage to change with it. The answer is coming soon. And the whole world will be watching when it arrives. The countdown has begun. The clock is ticking. And the future of the Indiana Fever hangs in the balance. The only thing left to do is wait and see if she makes the right call. The fans are ready. The players are ready. The only question is whether Clark is ready to let go of the past and embrace the future. The revolution is here. And there is no turning back now. The game will never be the same. And that, perhaps, is the greatest victory of all. The future is now. And it belongs to the players. The league is just along for the ride. The only thing left to do is watch it all unfold. The drama is far from over. It is only just beginning. And the whole world is watching. Every single second. The golden era has arrived. Now it's time to see what comes next. The fight for the soul of the franchise continues. And the only certainty is uncertainty itself. The clock is ticking. The pressure is building. And somewhere in Indiana, a 22-year-old is lacing up her sneakers, ready to face another night of chaos, hoping that the love of the game is still strong enough to carry her through. The fairy tale is over. The real fight has just begun. And the ending is entirely up to her. But she isn't alone. The fans are watching. The league is watching. And the future of the sport hangs in the balance. The golden goose is still flying, but the hunters are closing in. And the only thing standing between her and the ground is her own will to survive. The sky is the limit, but the fall will be long. The question is whether she will soar or shatter. The answer is coming. And the whole world will be watching when it arrives. The countdown has begun. The clock is ticking. And the game is just getting started. The only thing left to do is play. And hope that when the final buzzer sounds, she is still standing. The golden era has arrived. Now it is time to see if it will last. The fight is on. And the world is watching. Every single second.